Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Okay, brace for warp speed. And here we go.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, Tuesday, March 25th. Now, the big story this morning, you've got Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, pretty adamant yesterday that war plans were not being discussed in a chat group that had included a journalist. And Hegseth pushing back pretty hard on this yesterday. He was approached by reporters, asked about a report in The Atlantic that revealed a breach of national security then involving these high officials. And the editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, at The Atlantic revealed that he was inadvertently included in a group text. This is on an encrypted Signal app with Pete Hegseth, the vice president, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, other Trump administration officials who were all part of this. And they were talking about, war plans against I think it was steps they were taking against Yemen. And the White House National Security Council spokesman said the messages appeared to be authentic, said they were, reviewing how this would happen. And Hegseth slammed Goldberg before and then denied that these were war plans that were being discussed. And he said, you're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, he said. And then he pointed to a number of issues, a lot of that, I think, a background. I think those who have followed The Atlantic know what kind of publication The Atlantic is. So anyway, Hegseth says, so this is a guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. And the thing is, it's certainly, you've got The Atlantic accusing Hegseth of lying in an interview with Caitlin Collins on CNN last night. And they're saying he was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets are going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks was happening. And Goldberg said, I'm sitting in a Safeway parking lot watching my phone and realizing, oh my God, this might be real. I think Pete Hegseth just sent this group actual targeting information, actual sequencing of an attack. So they are asserting that it actually happened. Hegseth is saying nobody was texting war plans. So who do you believe? I don't have a great amount of love for The Atlantic, but also this is, what Hegseth said, this guy peddles in garbage. This is what he does. Well, how did he come to be actually involved in the group? And then I wonder who included him. Who included him? I just don't trust the federal government anymore. And I wonder who included him. Somebody may have, so this would actually happen, so that we would see this guy, because now the Democrats are seizing on this, as you might agree, and they want to have hearings and they want to get to the bottom of this. And So Hegseth is denying it, and this is really a big story this morning. So we'll spend some more time on that coming up today, getting your reaction. And also you've got the Trump administration and Judge James Boasberg, and you had Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, telling the judge last night, yeah, they're not going to disclose any additional information about flights involving deported, migrants, and said they are just unwilling to divulge state secrets. It's what Pam Bondi is saying. She said the court has all of the facts it needs to address the compliance issues. And they said further intrusions on the executive branch would present dangerous and wholly unwarranted separation of powers harms with respect to diplomatic, national security concerns that the court lacks competence to address. And the department also included declarations then from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. They argue not only would could national security be compromised, but also relations with other countries. And so they said DOJ has been talking about this since last week, that they were considering asserting the privilege of state secrets. And Pam Bondi making it very clear last night that Judge James Boasberg is not entitled to national security information. So, we're going to hear more about that. Jim Jordan was on Newsmax last night, and he called this decision by Judge Boasberg one of the dumbest I've ever seen. And he said, he was on Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax last night. He said, in essence, Boasberg said, turn the plane around, bring back the bad guys. I mean, gang members, hardened criminals here illegally who did terrible things. Turn the plane around and bring it back. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he says the ruling reflects on a broader issue of judicial overreach and that his committee plans to address it in upcoming hearings. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There was also there are a number of Republicans, and will they be able to get the votes? It's looking unlikely, but they're trying to get the votes together to answer the president's call to impeach federal judges who block his administration's actions. And Representative Brandon Gill of Texas introduced a resolution to impeach Boasberg. Number of Republicans began preparing then other impeachment articles against other judges. This is something I think we're going to see moving forward. Also, while we're talking about U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, she expressed an interest in prosecuting those who have committed fraud with government money. There was a cabinet meeting yesterday that was, you may have seen some of this, and you had the president and all of his cabinet there, and portions of this were televised. This is the most transparent administration I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. So the cameras were there, and they're all around the table, and this is the president and all of, his various department heads. And Bondi thanked Elon Musk for uncovering fraud, waste, and abuse through the Department of Government Efficiency. And she said a lot of waste and abuse, but there is also a tremendous amount of fraud. And Elon, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your team. You have uncovered so much fraud in our government. I'm seeing a number of stories along this lines this morning about the amount of fraud within the federal government. It is just incredible. Other stories, and we'll kind of circle back to some of these big stories this morning. The FBI's got some other concerns. Share those with you in a moment. You had Louis DeJoy, who is the U.S. Postmaster General, has been for the last 5 years, I believe. He resigned from his role as the head of the U.S. Postal Service, and he there are a growing number of calls for privatization. You may have seen stories. I would be surprised if you haven't seen stories regarding this. It's a big story. Should we privatize U.S. mail? Scrutiny from the Trump administration. And DeJoy, in a statement, said that beneficial change to what had been an adrift and moribund organization. He said more work was necessary to sustain that, but he said it's been one of my pleasures of my life and a crowning achievement of my career to have been associated with this cherished institution. And so rather than privatize it, and he is resigning in the midst of this. And I'm very curious on that. Got to get your thoughts on it. We'll talk about that coming up this morning. How do you feel about any effort then to privatize U.S. mail service? And you likely have seen reports regarding this. And anytime you start talking about some of these things, you get a certain number of folks who are running around with their hair on fire. But we'll talk about it. Also, the FBI issued a public warning urging vigilance near Tesla dealerships because of the violent attacks targeting Tesla vehicles and properties. Activists are planning a Tesla takedown global protest coming up later this week, March 29th. And they're calling for nonviolent things like selling your Teslas and joining picket lines and so on. But you have those who are taking it much further than that. And the FBI is working on that, concerned about it. Also, this is a story from the Hill this morning. Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker Mike Johnson, as well as some of the committee chairs from the Senate and the House, are going to be meeting later today. They're trying to reach a breakthrough on President Trump's agenda because they haven't moved forward as quickly as they had hoped. So it's stalled at this point, which includes border security, energy tax reform. And so Thune told reporters yesterday he's hoping the Senate will act on a budget resolution in the next 3 weeks that would lay the groundwork for moving a package later this year then to secure the border, as well as expand domestic oil and gas drilling, boost defense spending by at least $100 billion, extending the expiring 2017 tax cuts. And Senator Thune said yesterday, I want to get it done this work period, he told reporters yesterday. The Speaker has talked about, he shares the president's goal of having that one big, beautiful bill. So they're working on that. Among other big stories this morning, President is signaling that he would pardon Devon Archer. Do you remember him? The former business partner of Hunter Biden. And the president is saying that Archer was singled out by the Biden family, and now he's promising to pardon Archer. So this was during a meeting at the NCAA Wrestling championships that was held on Saturday night. And it was a meeting that was set up by Tony Bobulinski. You remember a lot of these names. Bobulinski, Archer. It was Bobulinski who set it up. And Trump said Archer turned out to be an anti-Biden person and exposed part of the Biden family's foreign corruption scandal, testifying to House Republicans. And so he had been close to Hunter Biden, and then he became one of the most important witnesses in the impeachment investigation involving Joe Biden. So the president now promising to pardon Devon Archer. Also, the president said that Alejandro Mayorkas, the former Secretary of Homeland Security, will no longer receive Secret Service protection. The president says so. Secret Service confirmed this yesterday. That decision comes months before the protection was originally set to expire. So Mayorkas was not automatically entitled to protection after leaving office in January. However, Joe Biden had extended his security detail for 6 months, which would have lasted until mid-July, and the president instead making the decision to terminate it prior to that time. Also, Kash Patel is refuting a CNN report. One of the reasons I want to share this with you is because I shared it with you yesterday. It was trending, the CNN report. And it said that there will be major cutback at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And they reported over the weekend that Patel had outlined plans to move as many as 1,000 ATF agents to the FBI, cutting ATF's agents by more than a third. And then they went on. So now Patel is pushing back. And he said, the report, he's talking about the CNN report. The report even suggested our leadership team altered course after reading a news report and ultimately backed off certain aspects of changes. This report is entirely false. The fake news will never be responsible for operational command authority over the ATF. We are. The brave men and women of the ATF who courageously dedicate themselves to protecting the American public will not have their security jeopardized by the media's disinformation campaigns. When we make decisions, they will be final, regardless of the input of CNN or any other news organization. So CNN was out there trying to say that, they were playing a role in getting this changed, and Patel is saying absolutely not. None of that is true, which is hardly a shock. Also, Elon Musk yesterday was wearing a Trump was right about everything hat, talking about the amount of abuse that had been occurring in the Small Business Administration, the SBA. So now the SBA is focusing on preventing loans from going to people who are ineligible, like babies, which happened. A 9-month-old who was able to take out a $100,000 loan. You've also got loans going out to people who are deceased. And Musk said the Doge found that children under the age of 11 were taking out SBA loans totaling $330 million. And Elon Musk said no more loans to babies or people too old to be alive. And then, i.e., stolen Social Security numbers, he said. So there's a new SBA rule that requires applicants to provide their date of birth in order to be considered for a loan. And they're finding a lot of fraud there. Also, there is a Barack Obama appointed federal judge slamming the president yesterday, claiming that the United States treated Nazis better during World War II than the Trump administration has treated the Venezuelan gang members. This just blows my mind. This is one of those. Really? You mean the Nazis who we shot dead during World War II? Or you're talking about after the war then, and the way we handled Nazis after the war was over, after the United States had won a definitive victory, then we shot them dead on the battlefield. What in the world is this judge talking about? This is just crazy. And then you had this is just nuts. What's going on with these federal judges? And it's one after another that So this was, the judge's comments were in reference to the over 200 Tren de Aragua gang members who were deported last week through the Alien Enemies Act. And the judge just, again, arguing the Nazis got better treatment, were her words. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. So great to have you along. I appreciate it. 627, mostly clear, 27. And this hour of the show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
There are a ton.
Man, these federal judges are just out of control. Crazy.
Or smooth button line. But McDonald's has a deal that levels up your morning above the rest.
We've got to
Now
do
at
something.
McDonald's, mix and match your choice of a fluffy sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles and sizzly sausage McMuffin with egg for just $5. With a deal this fire, there's no better way to upgrade your mornings than with a delicious breakfast. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Tune in for the Town and Country Show today at 10 o'clock. The Minnehaha chapter of the South Dakota Farm Bureau brings agriculture to the consumer by sharing the farm family life. This month, they're talking tariffs with American Farm Bureau's Dave Salmonson, and they'll recap legislative session highlights with Department of Revenue Secretary Howdy Shell and State Public Policy Director Matthew Bogue. Listen to the Farm Bureau Town and Country Show, hosted by Crystal Smith, today at 10 a.m. on Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to
Liz. Let's get an email from Liz here.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or avacin-capted Pagel is a prescription eye injection.
Liz was such a nice gal, former producer, and I was really sorry when she left.
Wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today. Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Partly cloudy skies today. High temperature nearing 60 in Sioux Falls. Northwest wind 15 to 30. Tonight, mainly clear, low 27. Tomorrow, a little warmer, less wind, high 64. An early day shower on Thursday, high around 70 and close to 80 by your Friday, Saturday.
And currently in Sioux Falls at 6:30, it's mostly clear and 27. Fox News Radio coming up fast, and then we will check in with Joe Bowman in the Kevo.com News Center coming up.
I'm Chris Foster.
Secretary Pete Hegseth is trying to discredit a journalist accidentally added to a chat about airstrikes about to happen in Yemen.
Secretary Hegseth referred to the specifics, including targets, weapons, and attack plans that the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, said was shared in a text chain he was on. Hegseth denied that was the case.
Nobody was texting war plans.
The National Security Council is looking into Goldberg's addition to the signal.
Yeah, what do you think about this?
Was via
what Hegseth is. I like Pete Hegseth. I'm not trying to denigrate him, but
A student protester sues to stop her.
there's somebody who's trying to really foul up the administration, I think.
Nearly 15 years ago, the State Department revoked her legal status after her arrest.
Fox Secretary Baumgarten ICE agents have not found Chung to detain her. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Sioux Falls police are waiting for a ruling from the county coroner on the death of a 36-year-old man earlier this month. It's possible the case could become the city's third homicide investigation of the year. Information Officer Sam Clemens says the detective on the case is asking for the public's help.
If anybody has information to call police or Crime Stoppers. So I can't really say whether it's a homicide or whether it's not a homicide, just because we don't have enough facts at this point to support one thing or the other.
The man died on the 16th of this month on the southern edge of the city. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds wants to keep rural newspapers in business. Rounds is reintroducing the Deliver for Democracy Act. The bill aims to improve U.S. Postal Service delivery and prevent excessive rate hikes for periodicals. The effort has bipartisan support and backing from the South Dakota News Media Association, which claims the measure is critical to keeping local journalism alive. Governor Larry Roden is launching an effort to hold parents accountable. Through executive order, Roden launched the Child Support Commission. He said it would ensure that children receive the support they deserve in a way that is fair and balanced. Several lawmakers, judges, and other state leaders were appointed to serve on the commission. In East Sioux Falls, construction of a new intersection at Arrowhead and Veterans Parkway begins tomorrow. Arrowhead Parkway will be closed east of the intersection. Veterans Parkway will be reduced to one lane of traffic in each direction through the intersection. City officials say these closures will continue through the rest of this year. And in sports last night, the SDSU women's basketball team's season came to an end with a 91-57 loss against number 2 UConn in the second round of the NCAA tournament. The Minnesota Timberwolves fell to the Indiana Pacers 119-103, and the Sioux Falls Skyforce beat the Rip City Remix 124-113. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Partly cloudy skies today and a high temperature nearing 60, northwest winds at 15 to 30 miles per hour. For tonight, low temperature 27, mainly clear. Tomorrow, another mild day, highs in the mid-60s with a lighter west wind, and temperatures nearing 70 on Thursday. Could start today with a shower. From the Storm Center at Kibblland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Entertaining talk and news when it happens. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com.
Are you one of the more than 15 million people who shared your DNA with 23andMe? If so, you must not only close your account today, but you must delete all your data too.
The story is trending this morning.
ExpressVPN. All of my internet connections are encrypted by ExpressVPN Secure Service. Sign up and get 4 extra months free at expressvpn.com/cam. 23andMe is going under, filing bankruptcy. Untrustworthy to the end, this company is accused of conducting a fire sale with data brokers to raise cash using your data. With their poor security, they've been hacked at least once. Private data was stolen. They've given or sold your data to cops without your permission, which is why the company nosedived in the first place. You not only have the right to delete your data, you must demand that 23andMe destroy all your saliva samples too. Head into your account settings, look for delete your data, and remove it now. Join over 650,000 people who get tech ahead with my free newsletter every day. Sign up at getkim.com. Every time you go online, internet providers track your every move. Here in the United States, they're selling our browsing history, even in private mode. Until that becomes illegal, protect yourself like I do with ExpressVPN, an easy-to-use app that encrypts and reroutes all your internet traffic through secure servers. By using ExpressVPN, my internet provider cannot see my browsing history. I can hide my IP address, the number identifying me, and my location online. And I can change my IP address to be more anonymous online. With servers in over 100 countries, I can appear virtually anywhere I choose. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. Get connected with a single button, with apps for every device like phones, laptops, desktops, and tablets. Get up to 4 months of ExpressVPN for free at expressvpn.com/Kim. That's expressvpn.com/Kim. Go now while you're thinking about it. Get up to 4 extra months of ExpressVPN for free right now at expressvpn.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Is a wound that won't heal holding you back? At Midwest Hyperbarics, their oxygen therapy accelerates the natural healing process, whether it's a post-surgery recovery, diabetic ulcer, or radiation burn. HBOT can accelerate healing. Discover the power of pure oxygen at Midwest Hyperbarics.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
I had the worst dream last night. We were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, huh?
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/score. Ethos.com/score.
Saddle Rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day.
Tuesday morning, and it feels like Friday morning to me.
To find the right person fast. 4 out of 5
Oh, well.
who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/.
Your happy hour starts at the new 49th Street Liquor. They're right at the corner of 49th Street and Minnesota Avenue. It's easy to get in and out. You're literally steps from the door, and you're going to find a lot of great stuff inside. Right now, they've got Busch 30 packs for $18.99. Jameson handles just $45.88. You can also enter to win a Busch Light cooler. They've got a number of other prizes, drawings going on throughout the month. So you can register for those, and you find everything you love, all your favorite beer, wine, and spirits. They've got just a huge walk-in beer cave with a pretty good selection of local beers there as well. They've got a limited inventory of fine liqueurs. If you've got any kind of special event coming up, March basketball brackets with friends, you're going to find everything you want to please everybody at the new 49th Street Liquor. There are Dakota Butcher products and a humidor with fine cigars and more. Your happy hour starts at the new 49th Street Liquor at 49th in Minnesota. Cheers to good times and great drinks.
Every day, you've got places to go and things to do.
No matter where you're going or what you're doing, you can always listen to Kello on your phone.
Entertaining talk, news when it happens, good things to know when you're on the go.
Listen to Kello wherever you are with the free Kello AM app. Kello News Talk 1321.
$6:39, mostly clear, and 27 this hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. Brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Longtime listeners will remember Liz. She was my call screener for a number of years. Just a really terrific gal. I get an email from Liz this morning. Good morning, Liz. She said, I'm listening this morning, and every story you're talking about, I posted on my current station's Facebook yesterday. I love that because I can see how much you taught me, she said. So whenever the job gets too stressful, just know that you have done some good. You see why I enjoy her so much? She was just terrific. She said she's coming back to Sioux Falls in May. Liz, I would love to see you. I'll drop her an email a little bit later today, but I know many of you enjoyed Liz. She was the producer on the program for a period of time, and it's always great when I hear from her. Thank you, Liz.
It's trending now.
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News.
All right. Trending stories this morning. The U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy resigned his position yesterday. And this is about 2 weeks after the Department of Government Efficiency had been, started talking about right-sizing the Postal Service budget. And so the board of the U.S. Postal Service confirmed that yesterday would be his last day. The deputy postmaster been tapped to take over until a permanent replacement is selected by the board. And he said that he was very grateful. He said after nearly 5 years as America's 75th Postmaster General, he said, I have today informed the Postal Service Board of Governors that today will be my last day in this role. And he talked about, the department being well positioned. And he said he had no doubt the Postal Service would aggressively shape its future, become more efficient, capable, and competitive while it continues to evolve. And the Postal Service moved in January to cut 10,000 jobs. So there's a lot of focus on this. And as you know, it's been a big story here. You've had local postal workers who have, expressed their concerns and about downsizing the Postal Service and what that may mean. There have been conversations about privatizing the U.S. Postal Service. And we'll talk about that in more detail coming up this morning. We'll get your thoughts on it. Also trending this morning, President Trump's senior national security officials accidentally shared sensitive details about their strike plans on the Houthi terrorist group in Yemen. And they shared it with the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And the messages between Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, Vice President J.D. Vance, and 15 other senior officials included discussions about the strikes that were carried out against the Houthis in Yemen, and Hegseth talking about this and saying absolutely not yesterday. But one, you've got people within the federal government who are saying this appears to be an authentic message chain, and they're reviewing how an inadvertent number, in other words, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, was added to the message chain. What do you think we're going to discover about that? I don't want to speculate, but I have a really hard time believing that was just an accident. You know what I mean? Somebody, I've got to wonder if somebody did that deliberately, trying to, create the mess that we're seeing as a result of this. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. Also, the yesterday, Trump administration urging the Supreme Court to stop a lower court order requiring 6 federal agencies to reinstate over 16,000 terminated probationary employees immediately, reinstate their termination. And the chief of staff to the Justice Department said We just took to the Supreme Court a single district judge's order forcing the reinstatement of 16,000 probationary employees. And so this comes, we've talked about this. I don't wish to revisit all of this in too much detail. This was Judge William Alsup. He said that the Office of Personnel Management had directed all or at least most federal agencies to terminate all probationary employees for performance. And he said that was unlawful. So now the DOJ wants to take that, they're appealing that directly to the Supreme Court. President saying he'll place a 25% tariff on all imports from any country that buys oil or gas from Venezuela. So also he'll be imposing new tariffs on Venezuela itself. And the president, in a post on Truth Social, said Venezuela has become very hostile to the U.S. and countries purchasing oil from it going to be forced to pay the tariff on all of their trade to the U.S. The tariffs would most likely add to the taxes facing China and so on. So 25% tariffs on countries that buy Venezuelan oil. Okay, you remember the story. This is, I shared it yesterday. It was a big story. The president, and now it's trending. The president demanding that a portrait of him on display in the Colorado State Capitol be removed. Remember this? I shared it with you yesterday. President posted on Truth Social. He said, in this case, nothing is better than something. I would much prefer not having a picture than having this one. The president said nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves, but the one in Colorado in the state capitol put up by the governor was purposefully distorted to a level that even I perhaps have never seen before. So Trump not liking it. And here comes the story from Axios. Yeah, they took it down. And then you get Colorado House Democrats issuing a statement saying it will come down at the request of Republican leaders. They said if the GOP wants to spend time and money on which portrait of Trump hangs in the Capitol, then that's up to them. Now, this is left-wing Axios, but it was taken down. Also, the IRS and ICE are close to finalizing a data sharing agreement. They want to verify addresses of immigrants who are suspected of living in the U.S. illegally. So ICE could submit names and addresses to the IRS, which would then cross-check those with the confidential taxpayer databases to confirm individuals' home addresses. And the agreement stipulates that requests can come only from Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, or Todd Lyons, who is the acting director of ICE. And workers who are residing in the country without proper documentation are subject to the same tax withholding or reporting requirements as citizens of the U.S. are. So further crackdown. Hey, I glimpsed a story this morning. And I think it was trending, coming from Canada. There are some in Canada that are concerned with the U.S. crackdown, and it's tough. What the U.S. is doing is that now there's concern in Canada that many of the illegals that are in the United States are going to be fleeing to the Great White North. And so they're bracing themselves with what they think the fallout from the president's really tough stance on illegals in the United States will be. Also, a man, this story, I think, has been, the headlines, I think, have been a little bit misleading. This man drove his car into protesters outside a Tesla dealership. This is down in Florida. I'm not defending this. I wouldn't have done it. He didn't injure anybody. Nobody was hurt. He was driving very slowly. He was trying to force people off the sidewalks, and this was a planned protest at a Tesla dealership, happened on Saturday. So he drove his vehicle onto the sidewalk again I'm not defending it. I don't drive my vehicle on sidewalks. I don't drive my vehicle, to try to thwart protesters. I just don't. This guy did. It's not as if he ran, was speeding into the crowd as we have seen others do. Also, President Trump has named Susan Manares as his nominee to be the next director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She is currently acting director of the CDC. And the president wrote on True Social yesterday saying that Manares brings decades of experience championing innovation, transparency, and strong public health systems. So she now will be nominated to lead the CDC. Also, several incendiary devices were found at a Tesla dealership in Texas yesterday morning. Austin police, this is Austin, Texas. Austin police found the devices yesterday morning around 8 and called the bomb squad to help conduct an investigation. And they say the devices were removed without incident. You just heard Kim Commando talking about this during the Digital Minute this morning. 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Its co-founder and CEO has resigned. She is still a member of the board. This is Ann Wojcicki. Still a member of the board, but she's resigning as CEO. And the company said Sunday they will look to sell substantially all of its assets through a court-approved reorganization plan. If you're someone who suffers greatly from allergies, this could be a tough year. Pollen levels are on the rise across the country. You got warm spring weather spreading. And meteorologists are saying with the warm weather comes the start of the extended allergy season across the United States, which will last throughout the summer. And it could be a bad year for millions of people throughout the country. This was a meteorologist at AccuWeather said about 1/4 of U.S. adults have been diagnosed with seasonal allergies, and nearly 1 in 5 children have seasonal allergies. So the pollen that are produced by trees and grass and ragweed, those are all primary allergens, and it could be a rough year. So heads up to those of you who suffer from allergies. Also, Hyundai has announced a $20 billion, that's with a B as in boy, $20 billion investment aimed at bolstering U.S. manufacturing. They did this at the White House yesterday alongside President Trump. Hyundai is from South Korea, manufacturing automobiles. And they say the deal would include the construction of a $5.8 billion steel plant in Louisiana. And this would be Hyundai's first steel manufacturing facility in the United States. So now you've got another foreign country unveiling billions of dollars in investment in the United States. Those good news stories, I don't think, are heard often enough. That one's trending this morning. Also, Usha Vance, America's second lady, Usha Vance and her son will be traveling to Greenland this week. They'll be going with the U.S. delegation for a visit that I think they arrive Thursday, and that's expected to last until Saturday. And the president has talked about, his interest in acquiring Greenland. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth beefing up the Navy warship presence in the Middle East. He's ordered 2 aircraft carriers to be there next month as the U.S. increases strikes on the Houthi rebels that are based in Yemen. It'll be the second time in 6 months that the U.S. has kept 2 carrier strike groups in that region. And then finally, wildfires have burned thousands of acres in the Carolinas, prompting officials there to issue evacuation orders. North Carolina, there were 3 wildfires that were burning just in Polk County. Officials said, this was an update Sunday night, that 249 firefighters from across the state were responding. So trending news tends to be a little bit behind events as they happen. But those wildfires and the acres being burned are trending. In fact, that's a look at all the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. 6:57, mostly clear, 27. And this hour of the program brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
First name in news.
Well, thank you, my friend, for starting your day with us here on YouTube. It's always great to have you along. I'll see you for the 4th hour, so come back at 9:30. We're looking for a part-time producer to join the Greg Belfrage Show team. I'll rely on you to